Hello, and welcome to another episode of Generally Speaking. I'm your host, Bill Lawrence. Today is Tuesday, October 14th, 2025. I like that series, Wednesday, with Ms. Ortega. Uh, Very funny. Just saw the last episode. Looks like they could have some more coming out. Really loved it. Also, just saw the movie Maze Runner for a second time. Also, a good one. I have to see the sequence that comes up to that, the sequel. I always love in a movie, it's always good to have steam. You're running through a hallway, there's always got to be some steam coming out of a pipe somewhere. Definitely, I should put some steam in the background behind me. Add some impact, have some steam. All right, so what do we got going on here? All right, Jack Smith, good old Jack Smith. He was really running strong, trying to hang the president on his overthrowing the election. Uh, Actually, he was more focused on the Mar-a-Lago documents case, holding the Mar-a-Lago documents, which federal judge Aileen Cannon just threw out at the end after this was going on for years, saying Jack Smith isn't a thing, really. Special prosecutor isn't a thing. I still, for the life of me, can't understand how this woman is still on the court. How hasn't this been referred to the Bar Association, to the WHO Association? How can you just say this case is dismissed because special prosecutor isn't a thing? Eh, Of course, he's a thing. Everyone knows he's a thing, and yet she's still running, still running. At any rate, he's back in the in the news again. This time working on the case of Trump trying to overthrow the 2020 election when he instigated the riot with the January 6 rioters, which, a lot of people say he didn't instigate anything. I was watching him. He said, let's march peacefully down there. He definitely said that, along with the other things he said and did. At any rate, so Jack Smith, presumably, we are hearing, has got the goods. He's got transcripts. He's got emails. He's got confessions. He's got statements by people in his closest circles, the most important people, all indicating that he stole the election. And so, well, what's going to happen? Anything? Uh, I don't think you can actually do anything to a president while they're sitting, right? So maybe they can, hammer him and say, "So this will get you when you get out." But then he's got that immunity thing. But then they're going to argue it's immune when he's doing things in his presidential capacity. But Smith is saying he was doing this as a campaign thing. It wasn't anything to do with his presidential duties. So, at any rate, he's in the news, and we've got the GOP, shining a spotlight on him, and they've discovered documents showing that Jack Smith had actually been tracking the cell phone data of multiple GOP Republican, right, senators, tracking them, seeing what they're up to. I don't know, tracking just their locations or getting information from the phones. But at any rate, how dare he? They're screaming, how dare he do any of this? And did he even have a warrant? And this is unacceptable, totally unacceptable. But it is acceptable because that was his job, investigating what was going on with this, trying to overthrow the election with the false electors. Anybody remember false electors? They're not real. All right, so they're Republicans getting up. Bee in their bonnet that Jack Smith is tracking the data. And did he have a warrant even for this? And so this channel I was watching, I wish I'm going to mention these channels more often when I get them. That he doesn't even need a warrant because the senators like to pass this legislation that lets the GOP people. That's who they're always attention of. But I think the Democrats get in on this too. I didn't get what the Democrat vote was on it, but at any rate, FISA 702, Section 702 of the FISA legislation said that warrants aren't needed. You don't need a warrant. So even if he was doing it without a warrant, he's still good to go. But this reminds me of a magazine I received from a organization I subscribe to called the Institute for Justice. They do great work. I don't have a lot of money to keep giving out to parties or individuals or organizations. But I throw my little, $10 here and there. But these people I subscribe to, the Institute for Justice, because they are doing things to help everybody, not just Democrats or Republicans. They're fighting against laws that impact everybody and that are terrible. And what's one of them? Warrants. Warrants, they were saying, are given out without any thought whatsoever. The idea with a warrant was I want to present evidence to the judge that I can wiretap or I can go into a person's home, invade a person's privacy, space, being, whatever. And you have to have some warrant because we got constitutional protections against unreasonable search and seizure, right? So, well, we got warrants. So you justify what you're doing before you go and doing it. And the Institute for Justice was showing how these warrants sometimes it's not even read. You have a warrant here, stamp of approval, go do it. And the warrants can be even based on nothing. I mean, that's the part of the thing of looking at a warrant. Well, let's see, what evidence did you have to justify this warrant? And these warrants were warrantless, I guess you could say. And so the Institute for Justice, I recommend contributing to them if you like. All right, so here's a podcast that I mentioned the guy's name. It's called Hawk, like the Eagles and the Hawks. The first time I moved down south, I was in a class and I was listening to somebody talking about the Hawks, and I said, "The what? The Hawks." Now I'm from New York, and in New York we would have said hawk, and I don't know what a hawk is. Regional accents. At any rate, so this guy is Hawk, and he has his website is Hawk Podcasts. So he was mentioning how the GOP is asking for the FDA to ban mifepristone. It took me a while to learn how to say that. It's like Trump trying to say acetaminophen. They joke on him saying acetaminophen. You try saying acetaminophen the first time you've ever seen that on the back of an aspirin bottle. See how good you do with that one. How about acetylsalicylic acid? There's a good one for you. It's almost like supercalifragilistic, etc. Right? So, at any rate, the GOP wants to ban mifepristone, which, if anyone doesn't know, is the morning after pill. It will induce the uterus to reject any implanted embryo that implanted itself in the uterus wall. And so, if you forgot to take if you weren't on your birth control, or that fella there just wanted to do whatever he wanted to do without protection, you use the morning after pill, the mifepristone, which has been used for decades with no problem. And now they're trying to claim, it's a woman's health issue. It's been shown to be dangerous. And no, it hasn't, unless you want to consider studies that are similar to what RFK pulls off with how Tylenols cause autism and other things like this. He gets these one-off studies that might show some kind of a link, and he makes it like, yeah, this is a definite thing, and you got to stay away from it. And this guy's a nutcase. What his vaccines? He hates vaccines. What now? I heard in South Carolina there was more. First of all, in Texas there was a measles outbreak, and now they got one in South Carolina. Maybe it's not measles. Maybe it's some other ones. But it's an outbreak that shouldn't have happened if you had your vaccines. So, any rate, so Hawk podcast, I recommend watching him. Next story. There's a ceasefire in Gaza, temporary ceasefire. And so what's Hamas doing? I've heard of Hamas. Who hasn't heard of Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas? Is what Piers Morgan was always asking his guests first thing when they were on his show. Do you condemn the actions of Hamas? Well, anyway, Hamas isn't the only gang in town. That there's other militias in Palestine, in Gaza, and so right now Hamas is going after them. They're having that intra-war fighting, and not just other militias. I'm wondering what other militias are they, doing the kind of things of fighting the Israeli Defense Force like Hamas is, or are they actually fighting against Hamas? They're trying to get some control over the turf, so to speak. I don't know, but at any rate, there's Hamas going after them, and people that they consider to be Israeli sympathizers or supporters are helping them out, and they're going after them, either killing them or arresting them. Like they have jails, really, they got jails there. So anyway, one thing I wanted to mention about this, I was looking at the video footage, and you see the people in the streets, right? They're all men. They're all men. It's like the women are hidden. Listen, I'm against this genocide, right? Entirely. No one should be genocided, but I don't care for their society. They talk about women are praised, and prized, and but no, they're not. I mean, they're the ones that have the honor killings, and the women have to be covered all up, and there's none of them in the streets. You might see one or two, but for the most part you're all staying at home and you can't read. A terrible society, and to say nothing of how they treat gay people. Right now, I don't know, I didn't hear any in-depth. I heard stories about, they'll throw a gay person off the roof. Could be just another one of those, totally off the mark stories. I certainly hope it is, but I don't want them genocided. I don't think it's right, but I'm not sure that I really care for them as a people necessarily. And that wouldn't be just for them. It's so many uh, countries in the Mid East. I wouldn't. I'm not going to jump and say it's Muslims, right? Because we got plenty of Muslims in the Western societies, and they're not like that. So I think it's a Middle East cultural thing. And at any rate, so there we go. We're going along with that. So that was Hamas. Now another site I like. It's called I Hate It Podcasts, and so they just use the letters IHIP, IHIP. They were talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, how she's saying some things that the Democrats could like, how we shouldn't, the Republicans trying to take away all our Medicare is bad, how we're sending billions of dollars to Israel constantly, and we're funding their free health care, their free Medicare. And meanwhile, we've got shortages here that we need covered. We don't have free Medicare or health care or education, and our farmers are hurting really bad now. Especially the soybean guys are at the top of the news. Although the soybean people aren't the only ones. The meat people and the wheat people, they're also hurting, and lots of people are hurting. But what does the administration do? They send $20 billion as a gift to Argentina to help out the Argentine regime, and you know, so she's complaining about that. Good for Marjorie Taylor Greene, and some other things too. The Epstein files. She's all for letting the Epstein files go. So good for her. But as a lot of people have mentioned, she's still a lunatic in a lot of ways, and there are still a lot of ways in which she's detestable. But what I was really wanted to say about the whole Margie Taylor Greene thing was in an interview I was watching her saying how she says this and that's political. I hate politics. And I'm thinking, anytime a politician says, I hate politics, I mean, what? Am I supposed to believe that you're a dang politician? You're telling me you hate politics. The only people who believe that, I mean, first of all, that's ironic. And if you listen to it, you are moronic. So that's where irony and morony, meet when you believe someone who says something like that. All right. Someone else was talking. Oh, the IHIP podcasters talking about why Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying this, and she's getting attention. She's saying Trump era is going to end. Trump's going to be gone. We hope, and she wants to be there, fill the void. And we're talking about how the Republicans, always manage to get the attention. They get the attention. There's no Democrat getting any attention. And I was thinking, why is that? I was thinking because, unlike the Republican Party, the Democrats have developed a very strong structure to resist change, to keep the status quo. The Republicans started all this MAGA stuff. Before MAGA, it was called Tea Party, and the Tea Party didn't get crushed. They formed a very strong vocal part. They started pulling. They were the first ones started pulling the GOP even more to the right. What do the Democrats have? They've got the Progressive Party. They got the Squad, and what do they do? Nothing. They get shunned by the rest of their party. They don't get anywhere. We get what? Somebody who's really got the attention of the electorate. This person running for mayor in New York, Zohan Mamdani, right? And what does the Democratic Party do? None of them is going to endorse him. None of them. This is the whole Democrat Party is such a waste. You know, they're at this point. At this point, they're better than Trump. But as the IHIP moderator was saying, I wish I could remember her name. I have to get better at that. As she was saying, um, Marjorie Taylor Greene would be more likely to get a Republican to vote for her, another Republican, than they would vote for a Democrat. Even as much as Trump is killing so many people, even Republicans, the Republican farmers, all the Republicans that need the Medicare and Medicaid, and just destroying society in general. But what do the Republicans care about that? At any rate, Marjorie Taylor Greene would be more likely to get a vote than a Democrat because they don't want to go there. It won't happen until more progressives are elected, and I can only hope that happens more. I should really have a list of people that I support. Graham Plattner is the only one who comes to mind right now running for Senate against Susan Collins in Maine. I hope if you want to support somebody, throw a buck, throw one towards him and help the cause. All right, what else we got? Oh, another thing that IHIP mentioned, how Trump is cutting special needs funding. Special needs, Democrats and Republicans have special needs kids, and we're just going to cut the funding for them. So now they won't even have a classroom to go to in the daytime while the parents are working. All right, so the next topic, the No Kings Day is coming next weekend. It's the 18th. I believe that's next weekend. And what's the GOP calling it? All the people. Let's start with the top of the House Speaker, Mike Johnson. Right? They're calling No King's Day. It's an Antifa, Hamas, Soros-sponsored terrorist hate America Day. All those in once. That's what it is, and that's why it's called No Kings, because Antifa means no kings, right? All right, so this is going to be an interesting day because there were no Kings March. I was in the No Kings March in one of them when Trump was first elected, and there were a lot of protests come out, in those times. Now there should be even more. I'm thinking because with these troops in the cities, lots of more things to get people riled up. All right, what do we got? Another one. The damage report. I got that site with a fella named John Yadarola. I like his presentation. I like his personality. I like the things he reports on. He was talking about the Qatari military base that's going to be put in Idaho. And how many people were screaming about, what are you doing putting a foreign country's military base in the United States? So J.D. Vance, he gets in front of the camera to say, this is fake news. I don't know who started this all, but it's not true. Stop saying it. So this fellow on the damage reports did a little investigating. Well, let's see who did say it. Who was it? It was Mr. Hegseth, the head of the Defense Department, who said we're going to have a Qatari military base in Idaho. Now, the truth is, it wasn't said exactly the way that it is. It's a U.S. military base that's going to have a separate area, especially for training Qatari fighter pilots, because we're selling them some F-16s, F-15s, one of those fighter jets, and they're going to come over here, and the jets that they bought will be here in Idaho, and they can get their training, go to classes, and it's going to be on a military base, but it'll be a section that's for the Qataris. So it's not a Qatari military base. But who was one of the loudest people speaking about it, and what the damage report was saying could actually squash the whole thing, was a person you may have heard of, Laura Loomer. Now, she was freaking out, and Hegseth felt compelled to respond to her. And I got to say, who the heck is Laura Loomer. How does this woman get this kind of attention and impact? She's not even in the government. And like Musk wasn't in the government, but they tried to say he was in the government. Sort of when it was convenient, he would be in. When it wasn't convenient, no, he's not in. So it was like, but Laura, she's not in any way, shape, or form. But somehow, what she says, makes the Secretary of War feel like he has to respond to her. Absolutely crazy stuff. What else? Okay, we got another story here. Typhoon Hualong. Hualong. Of course, you've never heard of it. It hit Alaska just recently. Did one of those typical what typhoons do when they're worth reporting on. Wiped people, swept people out to the ocean, out to the rivers, out to the sea. Took houses with them, wreaked havoc and destruction. Nobody heard of it. Why? It's all the way up in Alaska somewhere. Who cares? And where's FEMA? Oh, let's bring in the FEMA and the National Guard. Oh, wait a minute. We cut funding for FEMA. In fact, I think we cut FEMA. FEMA isn't there anymore. It's like used to be FEMA. Thank you, Trump administration, and the National Guard. Well, that's not for disasters anymore. That's just for sending into cities that are burning and on fire, and where there are war zones, like Portland, where absolutely nothing is happening. And I'm pushing back against the people who commented on my Portland is peaceful and the troops are messing it up, and they were all saying, you don't know what you're talking about. You haven't been to Portland. Portland's a hellhole. And what they actually were coming down to was talking about some depressed neighborhoods where, yeah, you have the homeless on the streets, which nobody likes, the tent city kind of things. But war zone, it doesn't count as, riots, fires, bombings. No, nothing like that. Sending the troops in there was ridiculous. All right. So, speaking of Portland, my next person is a young lady whose website is called Park Rose Permaculture, and she lives in Portland or just outside Portland, so she's on top of what's happening there. And in fact, one of my sources for saying, nothing untowards is going on with riots and what have you. And so she was talking about a story about an ambulance that was sent to an ICE facility. Excuse me, that someone was in need of medical attention, which I've been commenting on earlier, that there's no insight into what goes on inside these ICE facilities. There's no medical care. There's no whatever. Let me get on with my story. So the ambulance comes, takes the person, wants to leave, and they won't let him leave. They won't let the ambulance leave. They stop the truck, and they're surrounded. I don't know why. Right? They're trying to send them. So they want to go with the ambulance, and the ambulance has protocols. They say, unless you have an arrest warrant, nobody can come in the ambulance unless it was an immediate family member. But police can't go. You want to go to the hospital, meet us there, and hang out with your person of interest. Go right ahead, but you can't come in. So they're stopping the ambulance from leaving. And so he's sitting there. He's saying, "I guess I can't go anywhere. I'll put the car in a park." And sometimes when you put a car in park, if it's on a little bit of a hill, up or down, the car will roll like a half an inch, until the park brake thing engages and the car stops. So he's already got officers standing in front of it, and right away they say, "You're trying to run us down. You're trying to kill us." They rush to his door. They open up the door. They get in his face. They start pointing guns at him, saying, "You halt right now, or we'll kill you. We'll arrest you. We'll shoot you, and we'll arrest you." These are the guys that are going ballistic, and this is the whole point of all of this. All of these ICE deployments, they're not for getting any criminals. First of all, I don't know if they've ever even caught one, but they're all getting peaceful families, which they didn't agree with, which is bad enough in itself. But they're also aggressive to anybody who's out there, protesting or filming. If you're standing there taking a picture, they'll run over to you and they'll slam you to the ground. News reporters who are doing news reporting thing, right? They take them. they arrest them. They take them and arrest them. ICE is the one instigating trouble, and we know that what the administration wants is they want to get a reaction from the public, that they'll do something outrageous, that they'll say, "See, there's riots going on. Now I have to send in real military." Not that National Guard isn't real, but they're sort of restricted. They've got at least a little opening with National Guard, which they didn't take properly anyway, and is still in the courts. But now they'll be able to send, Marines, Army, and do whatever they want now. Law is suspended, martial law. I can do whatever I want. He's dying to enact the Insurrection Act. That's what he really wants to do. So Park Rose Permaculture, she's a good lady to listen to. Back to a little bit on economics. This is from Lena Petrova. Her website is called World Affairs in Context. She's talking about the U.S. economy, and she tends to focus on things like treasuries, and bonds. Those are two different things. And she says U.S. treasuries held at the moment are at the lowest, and at the lowest from what? Some things are this week's report, a month's report, a quarterly report. These are half-year reports, and she's saying U.S. treasuries held at this last reporting of the last half of a year are at the lowest that they've been in 50 years. In 50 years, that's people are dumping them, and they're dumping bonds as well. The dollar is dropping. It's still dominant, is what she said. Still, most of the trades are done in the dollar. Most people still believe the dollar is something to work with, but there's big cracks in thinking of what's good about it. Because a lot of it is due to trust in the U.S. dollar, right? Trust that it's dependable, and that trust gets weakened when the president attacks the Fed. And the Fed we look at as being the ones with the brains for how the money is being monitored, how the spigots are being turned. You got people with education in economics, and Trump just wants to be, no, my education is good enough, because he knows more about finance than anybody in the world. I don't think there's a subject that's out there that he doesn't know more than anybody else in the world. So when he starts attacking the Fed, that kind of weakens people's trust. And when you got these wild, crazy tariffs, where you're even putting tariffs on Penguin Island, there's nobody there but penguins. And when you make them go up, make them go down. Now they're on, now they're off. And we got our increasing debt to GDP ratio. That means the money we have to pay on the interest, not even the money back. I don't even know if they think about paying the money back. They're just thinking, how can we pay the interest? And it's getting hard to pay the interest. So these are the kind of things that make a country think twice about holding American dollars or denominations. And let me not forget to mention the freezing of accounts. You got a couple of billion, $20 billion, and it's held in dollars in an American bank. And the American bank says, I don't like the way you do things. I'm restricting your 20 billion, and I'm just going to hold on to it. And, maybe I'll even spend a little of it. I could use a new car or something. And so that kind of thing makes the dollar just keep going down and down and down. And at any rate, there you go. I forgot to say, please like, subscribe, and follow. Oh, I'll say it now. I don't know if anybody's even watching now. It seems like most of my recordings don't get a full viewing, but there it is. I should say it. Oh, I hope you enjoyed watching that. I enjoyed making it. You have a wonderful day.